Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, I'm Liz, and in today's video, I'm going to share with you some really fun Ikea DIYs. If you guys follow me on Instagram at lizfenwickdiy, I post a lot of behind the scenes of what's going on with my channel and my business. Recently, I rented an office space because I needed a space to work and a space for filming. And so I really had to do a lot of furnishing of this office. So of course I went to Ikea because they always have really inexpensive stuff. So the DIYs in here are things you can use for your home, but I actually put them in my office. I will start by saying that a lot of the stuff at Ikea right now is sold out. I only got things that I was able to pick up in the store, so hopefully that will help you with finding some of these items. So I grabbed the Kubus coat hanger. I hope I'm saying that correctly, probably not. And that's what I'm going to be using as an actual coat hanger in my office behind the door. So I took it out of the package and it comes with a long board and then it also has hooks. So I separated out all the hooks. Now I thought it would be fun to spray paint these hooks in a cute color, so I'm gonna use an aged copper spray paint, and luckily I had a nice day that I could take them outside and I spray painted one side of them. Once that had a chance to completely dry, I flipped them on the back and spray painted the other side. Now you want to let things that you spray paint dry completely, otherwise when you try to use them, the paint is just going to scrape off. Next, I'm going to take my hooks and put them into the little slots on the board. Now I do apologize, I think I was having trouble with my camera focus here, so if it's out of focus, I'm so sorry. Next, you're going to turn it on the back and it comes with some screws. So I'm just going to screw one screw into each of the hooks with my drill. I do get a lot of questions about this drill. I will link it down in the description box for you, along with any other products that I have a link for. It's really easy to attach this to the wall. I would recommend putting some screw anchors in, and then you just want to screw 2 screws on either side of the board. And I think this is going to be great in my office for hanging up purses and coats, and it's just right by the door and I think a perfect spot. In my office, I have a really cool gray couch that I'm loving, and I wanted some kind of ottoman / coffee table to put in front of it, but I didn't have a lot of space, so I needed it to be really narrow. So I settled on the idea that maybe I needed like a fabric bench. That way it would make an ottoman so I could put my feet up on it, but it would also double as a coffee table. Well, when I started looking at these online, they were around $200 plus, and I knew that I could recreate this for so much less money. So I grabbed this bench from Ikea, and again, the benches, a lot of them were sold out that I've used in the past, so this was actually a new one I hadn't used before. I'm just gonna start by taking all of the pieces out of the box. This bench actually had super minimal assembly that you have to do. Essentially, all you have to do is add on the legs. But before we get to the legs, I want to create that fabric element for the top of it. So I picked up a 1-inch foam on Amazon, and I'm gonna link it below for you. And I'm gonna lay out my foam, and then I'll set the top of the bench on top. Next, I'll just take a Sharpie and trace around the top edge. Now to cut this out, I just use a normal pair of scissors. If you have one of those carving knives, you could use that as well. But since it's only 1-inch foam, scissors work perfectly fine. So the colors I have in this room are blues, blacks, grays. I have elements of like leather and wood for my neutral. So I thought that a mustard yellow would be a really great complement color. So I went on Amazon and found several throw blankets that they offer in a variety of colors, and I found the perfect color. So I took this blanket out of the package, and since it was a little see-through, I was wondering if I should put a fabric underneath it, but I decided what I was gonna do was double over the fabric and then check it and see if that would work on my foam, and it ended up working fine. So I had enough fabric that I could just double it over, so that's what I'm gonna do. So I'm gonna put my double overed fabric laying down first, then I will put my cutout foam next, and then my bench topper will go on top. So what I did was I started by taking the fabric on one side and stapling it. Now you want to make sure as you're stapling that you're checking to make sure that the fabric is nice and smooth, especially when you're doing like the two long ends. I love using this cordless staple gun, so I will link something similar for you, but you're just going to do your staples along one side. Now, if your staples are not going in all the way, come back in with a hammer and just tap them in place. So then pick up your piece and smooth it out as best you can. I decided that I was going to actually turn it on its side and pull the fabric over and staple it while it was actually up on its side to get those first initial staples in, and then you can always put it back down and add more staples. I would say the key whenever you're doing a piece like this is just keep double checking it to make sure that your fabric is nice and straight and smooth. Now for the ends, I'm going to tuck in the corners, pull up the fabric as tight as I can where it's not bubbling or anything, and staple that in place. Now you probably will have to add more staples to your corners, but that's no big deal. After I stapled one side, I cut off all of the excess fabric, and I'm gonna do that all the way around because you don't want any fabric hanging down whenever your piece is turned right side up. So just cut off any additional fabric. And then I'm going to staple the other side of my bench as well. Once you have your cushion ready, now it's time to add in the legs. These were really easy to put on, and Ikea provided the tools to just screw the legs right on. That's why I love Ikea furniture, because they come in so many different sizes and shapes that I can get what I need and DIY it to be exactly what I want it to be. So you may need a bench in a floral fabric or something completely different. You can customize this DIY that I did to fit your needs, and it's so versatile. So next, I just added the bench in front of my couch, and you'll have to let me know if you like the way it turned out. Anytime you're making a fabric ottoman, I think it's nice to have a tray in case you want to put a drink on it, so it's really functional. So of course I got supplies at Ikea to make my tray. I went to the cutting board section at Ikea. I love all of the cutting boards that I find at Ikea, and I found this really cute one for $10. Even though the majority of their cutting boards were sold out, I was still able to find this one. It was the perfect size and a really good deal. Whenever I was renovating my RV last year, I had these gold handles. I think you had to buy them in like a pack of 25, or maybe I just bought them in large quantity because I needed so many of them for the RV. I had several of them left over, so I grabbed a couple of these gold handles, but I will link to these down in the description box or something similar so you don't have to buy as many. So I thought these would be cute on either side of my tray. So I started by measuring one side to find the center point. Once I had the center point, then I measured the distance between my handles, which was 3 inches. So I came back in, I just measured from my center point 1.5 inches up and 1.5 inches down and made a little mark. Then I just put the handle back down there to check it to make sure that everything was lined up correctly before I started drilling. And then I repeated those same measurements on the other side. I also measured from the end to make sure I was coming in at the same distance on both sides. Next, I'm gonna drill holes into the cutting board. Now, when you're drilling these holes, make sure that you drill them straight down. That way your screws are going to go in correctly. You don't want them to be angled off to the side. So kind of start where you can go straight down into your board, and you're just gonna drill exactly where you mark those holes. And then I'm going to screw the handles into place. And I think this looks perfect sitting out on my ottoman. All right, you guys, I hope you enjoyed these easy DIYs from Ikea. Nothing I did today was hard at all. Let me know your favorite projects down in the comments. And if you're new here, make sure that you are a subscriber. I post 2 DIYs each week and I don't want you to miss out on any of them. And if you missed our last video, I'll link it here for you, and I'll talk to you guys in our next one. Bye.